This is The Modern Leader Way.
The podcast for corporate career women who want to feel good on their way to the top. I'm Emma Clayton, and I'll be sharing with you tangible advice to help you stop sacrificing your soul in the name of success and experience more balance, confidence and fulfilment both in and out of work.
Hello, welcome back to the show. I hope you're well. How are you? Just check in and see how you're feeling right now.
Over the last 3 seasons, I have shared parts of my story from my previous career in corporate, where I was a high-achieving career woman on a leadership path. So I don't want to go over that again.
I guess I would describe that chapter of my life working in corporate as pushing and striving to get to the pinnacle of my career, which was that director level role, and realising that it was not all it cracked up to be, and feeling very ready to go on and do something else. And having my hand forced, right? I would never have necessarily gone on to do this if I hadn't have been faced with redundancy. You know, I've never looked back, never regretted it. It's been tough. I'm not going to sit here and say it's been a bed of roses. But I've very much been on a journey since I left that world. And that's what I wanted to describe in this episode, because it really informs the work that I do with women. And I would describe those women that come to me as successful career women who desire more. They want to show up in life and at work more authentically, in true integrity with who they are, without having to push and force things. They want to use their voice more, to share their ideas, to have an influence and make a positive impact in their work. They want to overcome unhealthy behaviours and habits. They want to lead a longer, more healthy and vibrant life, and to go home feeling fulfilled at the end of the day, and to be more present than ever with their family, and to really live life fully. As cliche as it sounds, that is what it's all about. So yeah, I've been on quite a journey since leaving, because I have to admit that I got to that point where I left and woke up one day going, well, who the hell am I now if I don't have this prestigious career and job title to spout out when people ask me what I do, and I don't have the travel around the world on work expenses, and don't have, the big bonuses every year. Who am I? What am I all about? And what am I here to do? And I found myself turning inwards and embarking on a journey of self-discovery and growth and change. And what I want to preface this episode with, before we get into what I call the process of unbecoming, is this.
You were born on this planet a perfect human being. You were innocent and pure, and you were perfect, and you were loved. And you didn't even have to lift a finger. Even through your screams and your shitty nappies, you were still perfect, and you were still so, so loved. And then life unfolded.
And it was the experiences you had and the people who were there when you were growing up, your main caregivers, your parents, your family, your teachers, the friends you hung around with, their families, the things you watched on TV, the places you visited on holiday, all those kind of life experiences, big and small, and everything in between, that shaped and moulded who you are today. It was the things people taught you, told you, or did to you or around you that made you start to see the world through your own lens, to believe certain things about yourself and the way the world works in only the way you could see it, because only you had had that exact experience growing up. So we're talking about nature versus nurture here. Nature being how you're biologically and genetically predisposed to be physically, emotionally, and to a large extent intellectually. And nurture being the external influences on those traits. So we've all learned a few things along the way that have helped us get here today. They've served us, and they may no longer serve us to get to where we're headed on our leadership journey. Let me give you a personal example. So my parents were very loving of me and my sister, and they were also very protective. So I didn't have as much freedom as I wanted growing up because they were scared for my safety. I remember conversations about, never talking to strangers or accepting sweets or getting in strangers' cars. I was given a rape alarm. I was about 9 or 10. I used to walk home alone, and I had to carry this rape alarm in case I ever needed it. And I always had to be home before dark. Even when I was 16, 17, I had to be home before it got dark. They put the fear of God in me when it came to getting on motorbikes with boys. It was never going to happen. But they also tried to scare me about getting intimate with boys or smoking or taking drugs. And I really did play that good girl role because I wanted them to know that I wasn't going to get in trouble. I was safe. I was okay. They didn't need to worry about me. I became this people pleaser, going out of my way to make sure that they knew I was okay. That was until I hit that rebellious age at about 14, 15 and started to lie about where I was going or staying that weekend, or absolutely experimenting with boys and alcohol and smoking and even some drugs. Now, thankfully, I pulled through that time in just a couple of years. By the time I was 18, I turned it around again and came through. But how much of my people-pleasing tendencies throughout my career were down to nature or nurture? What about the extent to which I overworked to achieve the impossible against all odds to make sure that I was doing a good job? What was the drive behind wanting to be a high achiever? Was it the fact I was going to get a better bonus at the end of the year, or was it the fact that I was seen to be doing a good job? Just to draw a comparison with the current day situation that I have witnessed more recently, my niece and nephew, my sisters too, 7 and 4, and they have a lot of freedom to explore, which is beautiful to see. Like, I'm so happy for them that they're not wrapped in cotton wool. And we were at the park, we were sat outside the cafe, we'd just had some drinks, and they wanted to go to the park, which was, it was out of sight, it was a bit further around, and my sister said, okay, you go. And off they trotted, holding hands. They were happy as Larry. My mum, however, grandma, jumped up, went across. She snuck through the bushes to see them just to make sure that they were safe, right? From a distance, bless her, which was probably quite difficult for her to do. But they have a lot of freedom. They had a lot of trust put into them as well, that, they would go to the park and then that they would come back and that they would be okay. And there was no doubt in their minds whether or not they'd be safe because there hadn't been that seed planted. So this isn't to say one way of parenting is right and another is wrong. This isn't to make my parents wrong or yours. It's just to say we get to see where some of our traits today may have come from. We get to look at it with curiosity and just question whether or not it's our true natural nature. And so the process of unbecoming, to me, is that first step in remembering who we are at our most natural nature and unlearning some of the things that we know is not who we are so that we can reclaim the truth of who we are and then grow and evolve from that place. So what is really important to grasp at this stage before we embark on the inner game of becoming all of who you came here to be is that this is not about becoming someone you're not because who you are today is not good enough or you think you're broken and need to be fixed. It's about remembering who you were before the world taught you who you should be. It's about reclaiming the truth of who you've always been beneath that programming and conditioning of your past and your upbringing. It's about returning to your natural nature because you are inherently worthy and deserving of living a beautiful, fulfilled life because you are more than enough and you always have been and always will be. So from that understanding, we can venture on this journey of unbecoming together. And over the last 5.5 years of walking with people in their growth, I've seen a pattern emerge, which is backed up with my own lived experience on my own journey. And as a result, I've developed what I call the process of unbecoming. And it starts with awareness, because we don't know what we don't know, right? Until we see it with our own eyes, we can't unsee it then. But like I couldn't even question whether people pleasing was part of who I truly am until I'd seen where it might have come from, there are many other things that make up who I've been in the past that I've had to look at. So it starts with that awareness, because when you have awareness, you can do something with it. I remember the very first time I learned about the effect of sugar on my blood sugar levels and the energy highs and lows and the cravings for more sugar. You know, once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. But I didn't know what I didn't know before I knew it. I remember going into my first therapy session. It was cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT. And I had to describe what I was thinking, how I was feeling, and how I was experiencing that. And I can remember going, I can tell you what I'm thinking. I spend a lot of time in my head. I can tell you exactly what I'm thinking. I had to really tune in with how I was feeling, because that wasn't something I'd necessarily tapped into before. But actually, how I was experiencing it was a whole new paradigm that I had never explored. So for me to really go, oh, how am I experiencing this? What's going on in my body when I'm thinking that thought and when I'm feeling that emotion? That was a whole new level of awareness. But with that, we could do something with it. I had a similar experience when my first health coach asked me, when you're binging on chocolate, what are you thinking? And I was like, oh, I'm not thinking anything. And she's like, no, you will be. And that took real effort. And it was almost like after a binge, I could tell you what I was thinking easily enough. And then with enough practice of that awareness, I could bring that into the moment that I was actually eating the chocolate and go, oh, okay, what am I thinking right now? Can I kind of interrupt that pattern and go, what am I thinking and feeling and experiencing right now that I'm in this binge? And then with enough practice of that, I could actually bring that awareness into the moments that I was thinking about reaching for chocolate, that I was thinking about going into a binge. So you can really do something with that new awareness. My main intention with this podcast is to raise awareness of where some of the common issues might lie, that we see in corporate, where they stem from, where the challenges you may be facing in your own inner experience might arise from. Because ultimately, as adults, with this beautiful gift that we've been given called metacognition, which is our ability to think about our thinking, we get to decide, we get to choose what we believe about the world, how we see things, how we see ourselves, how we see opportunities for us. And it's only through awareness of how we've always thought about the world and where that comes from that we can choose whether or not that's how we want to move through life. Likewise, we have more power over choosing what we do next. So when I've caught myself just before I'm reaching for chocolate, with that awareness, I get to choose. Do I really want the chocolate? What are the reasons for it? What else is going on for me? What else can I do? What other tools have I got that I can now bring in? Because whereas reaching for chocolate once served me when I was being bullied in the playground or had my heart broken, it doesn't serve me in terms of where I'm going in my leadership. It doesn't match up with the version of me that I want to be, which is the true version of me before I learnt the coping mechanism of turning to food. But I can only change that with awareness. So that's what we're doing here, guys, and it's not as scary as it sounds, so don't worry. What I want to say is if you're not where you want to be yet in your leadership journey, either in terms of your confidence levels or the level of influence and impact that you are making, then we have an opportunity for growth. And I just want to say, I've got you, and you're in the right place, and we get to walk this together. What I'll leave you with today is just this idea of noticing what you notice. Okay, so notice what thoughts come up off the back of listening to this episode. Are you challenging some of the things I've said? Are you not so sure? Does it feel a little bit sticky in your body, or does it feel like there might be something here worth exploring? Like, just notice what you notice, and that is what we're doing with awareness. Because there is so much wisdom that comes up from our body. There's so much we can learn from our thoughts, and we don't have to believe everything we think.
Now, if anything I've covered in this episode has got you thinking that maybe you want to explore this further, reach out, by all means, give me a shout. We can always hop on a quick call and just chat about all the ways that I can support you. I have a number of different options that I can talk you through. And really, I am here to create massive internal change, one woman at a time. So if you're the next one, reach out. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to connect and talk more about your story so that I can get to know you better and how I might be able to help. Otherwise, I shall see you next time. And in the meantime, take care.